One cool mechanic in Inscryption is what happens every time you die. Like with a lot of modern roguelike games, Inscryption offers the player a few avenues for permanent progression, but the coolest way Inscryption does this is with the death card. When the player dies, the monster who is holding you captive makes you create a personalized death card. This death card comprises of cost, health and damage, and a special ability, which you can choose from 3 random cards drawn from your deck. What this allows the player to do is customize a card to suit their needs. They have just died, meaning that they have just come up against an opposing force that they could not overcome, immediately giving the player the opportunity to create a card to directly help deal with that threat is really cool. On top of that, if you get lucky enough with your draws, you can create some massively overpowered cards which feel amazing to draw in the heat of battle. I haven't quite seen a permanent progression mechanic in a roguelike quite like this before, and hopefully you found it interesting. Another cool mechanic in Shroom Gloom is the bash card and how it affects exploration and combat at the same time. So Shroom Gloom is a deck building game where one of your decks is entirely for exploration. Every time you progress to a new room, you need to unlock a door. In your deck, you do have cards which act as keys, but if you don't draw them, one card that is always in your hand is the bash card. The bash card opens a door, but at the cost of inflicting damage on the player. Now this card is really well designed for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it just negates soft locking, and this soft locking would be when the player's run is just over because they're unlucky enough to not draw a key card. And secondly, it forces the player to think ahead. In combat, the player needs to make sure they have enough health at the end to use bash for the next exploration phase. And if the player decides to get trigger happy and uses bash to unlock an extra chest in the room, they need to keep in mind their remaining health before going into the next combat encounter, as if they push their luck too much, they run at the risk of being one-shot by the next enemy they see. Another cool mechanic in Ballxpit is the dual character mechanic. At some point, players unlock the ability to combine 2 characters together into one via the matchmaker's building. What this does is, like a fusion, combines 2 characters' abilities together into one. For example, you could matchmake the Shade, which shoots balls from the back of the stage instead of the front, with the Repentant, which returns balls to you if they hit the back of the wall. This specific example allows you to negate the negative of the Shade, where balls just never come back to you when there are too many enemies on the stage, by having them come back to you rapidly via the Repentance abilities. Now there are so many combinations of interesting abilities, 120 to be exact, that it adds so much replayability and interesting decisions. But on top of that, it also makes it so you can complete runs with 2 characters at once, giving you 2 gears at once instead of 1. And if you are really struggling with a particular character, you can just pair them up with a character you like to carry them through it. Such an amazing mechanic that adds so much to the game, it's crazy. One cool mechanic in Voidbreaker is how the destructible environment and throwable items interact with enemies. In this roguelike FPS, you can throw grenades at any structure and it'll start to crumble. If debris lands on enemies from that structure, they become staggered. The staggered effect is really cool, as not only does it stun the enemy, but they also take more damage per bullet, and they give more ammo and health if they die while still stunned. This is the same for throwable items as well, where if they hit the enemy, the stagger effect applies. With the Ghost Runner inspired movement system and level design, adding this stagger mechanic, which heavily encourages players to change the level around them via destruction and change course to grab throwable items, is really genius design and is executed really well. And all of this is done by a solo developer too. One cool mechanic in Cloverpit is how the game brings order to the chaos of slot machine gambling. This game is of course heavily RNG based. The aim of the game is to earn enough money each round to survive the situation you are in by paying off debt, which you do by playing on the slot machine. The slot machine is entirely random, meaning that in order for the game to really be worth playing at all, there needs to be a mechanic which allows the player to control this randomness somewhat. The best way Cloverpit does this is via the Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms mostly simply change the odds of what type of symbol will appear on the slot machine, which gives the player some control but not much. Then however, you have abilities which can make it so when those symbols do appear, they are higher value. So getting those 2 charms in the same run can really boost your chances of earning lots of money. Finally, there are charms which just help you with your luck, such as increasing your odds of getting a pattern if you haven't gotten one in the last couple of turns. On any given run, the problem is always the same for the player. How do I increase my chances of success? But with 150 charms, that problem has a massive variety of potential solutions, with different synergies and strategies to uncover as you go. Randomness mitigation is always a necessary but tricky problem to solve in this genre, but Cloverpit does it well. One cool mechanic in Debugging Hero is the debug tool, which allows you to change the stats of your yourself and enemies. Anyone familiar with game devs knows about a debug tool, a tool used to change variables in the game to test out different features. The way this game allows you to change variables is through variable cards. On the fly, mid-fight, you can access these cards, target enemies or yourself, and add or subtract stats to make you or your enemies stronger or weaker. Adding deck building to a dungeon crawler isn't really something new, but the way this game incorporates a really fun idea with on-the-fly card playing is really cool, and contextualizing it around the player feeling like they are actually going into the game's code and manipulating it is really interesting. One cool mechanic in Blueprints is the way the terminals work, specifically the security and the laboratory terminals. The security terminal does two really cool things. It allows the player to 1. Change the security level in the mana from low to high, and 2. Change the offline mode of keycard doors. What changing the security level does, it is increases or decreases the chance of keycard doors spawning in Blueprints. Keycard doors meaning doors which require keycards. If you do not have a keycard, you will want this to be low, but if you do have a keycard, you will actually want this to be high, as adding more keycard doors actually reduces the chance of finding a locked door which requires a key, as both keycard doors and locked doors increase in likelihood the further you move up the mana. Changing the offline mode of keycard doors to be unlocked, alongside turning off the power to the keycard system using the utility room, means that all the keycard doors can be unlocked without a keycard. Again, then changing the security level to be high means that in theory you should need to use less keys overall. Both settings are really powerful tools for progression depending on your circumstance. The laboratory terminal allows you to mix and match cause and effects. The player is presented with 3 causes and 3 effects. The player can choose any from the left side and any from the right, but only one of each. This will only be in effect for that run, so the player wants to try and tailor this new curated rule to the run they are on, which adds a lot of variety, replayability, and strategy.